on the hotline. I called this morning for this because a listener, Sharon, sent me a video of a hearing that was taking place that I didn't even know about. And we wanted to get Rob Sampson, who was the focus of that exchange with the commissioner, on the show to talk about it. Rob, welcome back to the show.
Hey, good morning, Pastor Will.
Good morning. It's funny. It always seems like the government is behind the real world. You've got car company after car company after car company pulling away from electric vehicle, plans. GM walked away from a $12 billion initiative. Ford's not doing it. Toyota's not doing it. But government still presses and presses. The similar thing now, we have all these DEI, officers being hired, now being let go by companies, entire DEI departments being closed by corporations, but not the state of Connecticut. We're going to double down on it. So this hearing happened last week. I, again, didn't even know about it, or a week before, actually. Sharon sent me a video, and you were asking questions that I think were very common sense, but weren't really getting the answers from them. So tell us about the state of Connecticut's plan to hire apparently a bunch of DEI supervisors. I don't know what you want to call them. Go ahead.
Right. Yeah, no, I'm not sure exactly what Sharon might have sent you. We had a hearing on Senate Bill 414, which is the DEI bill in the Labor Committee. Yep. And that might have been it.
That was the hearing. Yes, indeed.
Yeah,
yep.
I was interviewing the commissioner on the state agency that has to do with racial equity, which was created, a couple of years ago when they passed that law that said that racism is a public health crisis, actually. So out of that comes this commissioner, this new state agency, and these are their recommendations for state government, which is create 24 new extremely high-paid positions. We're talking, 150 to 200K range positions, to put basically a DEI director in every state agency with nearly as much power as each agency's commissioner. In fact, what's remarkable about this legislation, Pastor Will, is that they want these DEI directors to actually review every policy that goes through each of these state agencies to make sure it meets their equity muster. It's mind-boggling just how much this is going to cost. It's going to be millions and millions of taxpayer dollars. And, of course, they're going to start to inject this equity conversation into every policy, whether it's, the Department of Motor Vehicles, the Department of Agriculture, you name it, across the board in state government.
Well, it was interesting because, you were asking her, which who knows really if there's a known answer, how many agencies in the state of Connecticut were going to be affected by this. I think the number was 26. And then you said, well, this is supposed to be a public health issue. Why are all these other agencies getting DEI directors? And she said, well, I disagree with your premise, blah, blah, blah. And you had I don't know if you remember what you said, but you had a super good response to it of why you were questioning why it was going beyond public health. What was the reason?
Right. I honestly don't remember what she said. But while you were speaking, I realized that you're actually talking about the committee meeting, not the conversation I had with the commissioner. That was with the conversation I had with the state senator that is the chairman of the Labor Committee.
This is actually the commissioner. And
really? Okay.
And she pushed back and said, well, and went into the typical progressive line why, everybody's repressed and oppressed. And you said, well, I'm just looking at the committee's charge. The charge is you're supposed to do this for issues of public health. And it's expanding far beyond that. How do they justify that?
Yeah, there is no justification. I mean, I don't remember what they said. I mean, and I don't care. To be honest with you, this is madness. The whole thing is utter madness. They're using discrimination and racism allegedly to stamp out discrimination and racism. And it's the same as affirmative action. Which based on the recent Supreme Court decision that happened on affirmative action in prominent universities and colleges around the country. I don't think that this can fly. because that decision was very specific to the use of quotas or this type of race-based discrimination in hiring practices or, letting students in government. And here it is being, put into our state government by, prominent progressive Democrats in our state legislature. And it's evil and wrong on its face. I think you know that, Pastor Will. These people, I mean, if you're still judging people based on superficial characteristics like skin color or gender or things like that, then you're a small person. And, you have no place deciding policy for the state of Connecticut.
Well, I mean, I want to be fair about it and realistic at the same time. I mean, certainly there's no place in God's world for racism. And I agree with you 100%. I've said this 1,000 times, much to the chagrin of people, that I think the whole racism thing is a social construct, because I think there's one race. There's a human race. And you cut us, we all bleed red. If you do X-rays, we all have organs in the same place. I mean, humans are humans, and they're not dogs, they're not cats. Although people, now they want to believe they're dogs or cats, so we go put litter boxes in the boys' rooms in high school for it. But to make it sound like we're making rules specifically for groups of people, you pushed back and said, wait, that's not how we function around here in the United States of America. We make rules for individuals. We make protections and rights for individuals, not groups of people. And so to say that all groups, every member of all groups is being this or that or the other thing, no one can know that. It's not even reasonable to make that assumption, but yet these guys make those assumptions all the time.
Right. I mean, they put people into different boxes and different categories, and then they manipulate policy to, engender favor with these various groups. It's the same thing. It's catering to special interests. So much to say about it. I mean, really what it boils down to, though, Pastor Will, I think, is that there's this battle going on in our culture across the country, and that is between people who are brought up, I think, the right way, to be colorblind, to recognize that we should judge people based on merit, and reward people for their hard work and their effort and their ability. That doesn't mean not taking into consideration their life experience and other things that might have value on the job. Certainly we can do that. But the other side is trying to decide that we should put people into different categories based on superficial characteristics. And I was asking them, I'm like, why don't we do this for eye color? Yeah. How come we don't have a special category for that, or shoe size? Because that's just about as ridiculous it is. The thing is, in this battle, only the colorblind side makes sense. The equity side of the equation fails the logic test, because not every person that falls into a specific category was oppressed or is an oppressor. And that's the way they want to characterize people. And it's all because they like to create this dependency, this victim mentality, to pit people against each other, because that's how the progressive movement, which is just an extension of the Marxist movement, that's how they do politics.
They only function on conflict. They have to have an enemy to point out. And so they use intersectionalism, and they take a group from here, and a group from here, and a group from here, and they combine them all into one group, and they're all being oppressed. I mean, this is an article early in March 5th, 2024, from Market Watch, provided by Dow Jones. And here's the headline: companies are pulling back on DEI. They're closing programs. They're hiring less directors. They're letting directors go. Why? Because they realize it doesn't work. You can't legislate this stuff, and you can't, I mean, if you do, that's fine, but your stockholders aren't going to be happy. You're paying $200,000 to a person whose job is to try to make sure that diversity, equity, and inclusion are exercised fully in the company, where and some of these companies, this makes me even more furious. Some of these companies do this only for virtue signaling purposes. They don't think they even have a problem in their company, but we have to have a DEI officer, because we won't be frowned upon. It will be frowned upon by BlackRock or Vanguard or whoever else the finance company is. That we don't care about that stuff, and it may not even be true, but they feel forced into it because that's what you have to do in this day and age.
Right. I mean, we watched this happen over the last decade or so as this movement has grown. And, I witnessed it in the legislature. I mean, almost every year that I've been here, there have been several bills that come across through the various committees that are imposing affirmative action type policies or equity type policies. And generally speaking, my Republican colleagues, in confidence, and a lot of Democrats too. I mean, I talk to Democrats about this. Nobody likes this stuff. We're all like shaking our head like this is wrong. This is not the right type of thing. But people have been afraid to speak up because they don't want to get tagged as a bigot or a racist. Sure. And, so people keep their head down, and these bills make it through. And as a result, these policies are actually taking shape in governments across the country. And obviously, it's in the private sector because there's political pressure and there's all of these threats that can be made by various organizations against corporations for boycotts and God knows what. But I'm really excited, Pastor Will, that people are standing up. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the reasons why I spoke up at that hearing, and I really spoke up at the committee meeting where we debated this bill. I went on for over an hour, and I really took the Democrats to task on this subject because I want to put it back on them. They're saying if you don't support this policy that you're somehow a bigot or you're in favor of discrimination. And I wanted them to explain how their use of superficial characteristics like skin color is not discrimination. And they had no answer for me, of course. And that's all it takes. All it takes is someone to actually have the courage to stand up and challenge these folks on their flawed policy idea. And maybe we have a chance to stop it.
Yeah. Well, again, I'm hoping this election makes a difference here in Connecticut. I hope more Republicans get a chance to be in Hartford. And, if you're not in a room, you don't get to make the decisions, right? So we need way more conservative Republicans in government, certainly in local government and certainly in state government as well. Real quick, there's another issue that I think the progressives have completely dropped the ball on, and that's and maybe it's by design. Maybe they like the fact of having loose election laws and election rules to be able to stuff ballot boxes as we've caught them on videotape doing, and not having voter ID and not having ways to verify or check that the person voting should be voting because they're a legal citizen as opposed to an illegal citizen. But I'm glad to see it looks like the GOP is making some suggestions in terms of solutions for voter fraud. And I think you're going to have in about 40 minutes, I think you're having a press conference today, aren't you?
That is correct. 11 o'clock today, we'll be having a press conference at the state capitol. It'll be me and my colleague, Gail Mastrofrancesco, who you had on last week. Yeah, I enjoyed
Gail. That was nice.
Yeah, Gail is awesome. If you like me, if you are looking for a strong conservative Republican who is not afraid to speak up, Gail's your person. She's great. So Gail and also Steve Harding, our new Senate Republican minority leader, the three of us are going to go to a press conference and basically try and paint the picture that the Democrats are in fact complicit in our election failures in the state. I've been banging the drum about these things that need to be done to actually shore up our election process and restore the integrity of our elections and restore the confidence of the people of our state in our elections for years. And they have been ignoring these ideas. And of course, they have a bill this year to put video cameras on drop boxes. And at first glance, it doesn't sound like a terrible idea. And I mean, the drop boxes are only a tiny fraction of this problem, though. And that's what I want to draw attention to. And this is what they do. The Democrats create these problems, and then they try and gaslight people into saying that they're solving them. They're doing the same thing on the crime issue. They do a little bit around the edges to make it look like they're actually addressing the issue, when in fact they're letting the entire issue continue. And that's what's happening in elections and crime.
I think gaslight. I said a few weeks ago, Democrats are so skilled at gaslighting. We should just change the party name to the Gaslighters. That's it. They're so good. I know that didn't get a lot of positive response from the other side. Rob, listen, thank you so much. I know this was a last minute call, but again, Sharon sent me the video of that exchange with you and the commissioner, and I was like, you know what? If I didn't know about it, a bunch of people didn't know about it. So let's get the word out on that too. So let's stop playing games with DEI and wasting taxpayers' money, and let's find some real reforms and some real protections so that everybody can trust the elections that take place in our state.
Right. That video is right at the top of my social media pages. Actually, not that video, but an even better video, really, which is my debate with the chairs of the Labor Committee. Which I mean, it's amazing actually to hear their failure to explain their policy agenda.
Yeah, well, they can't. It's frustrating, but I'm so grateful for you and others who are standing up for the folks and making your case. So. Thanks again for coming on, and best wishes for the 11 o'clock presser, and keep up the good work. We really appreciate you, Rob.
I really appreciate you having me and sharing your audience with me today, Pastor Will, and thank you for what you do to make sure that the people of Connecticut hear the truth.
All right. Thanks so much. Rob Sampson, everybody.